Well, hi guys, it's Carrie here at Rockin G Farm and Garden. Well, today we've already done a lot of things on the farm and we were so busy I didn't get any video on that, but I'll tell you we did put up some the little bell peppers, they're snack peppers. I bought 2 plants of those and put them in my green stock along with another rosemary plant because I am very short on rosemary and needed some rosemary. So today I've started on my sweet potatoes. I'm going to put them in my molasses buckets. We did that about 3 years ago and had a good result with those. So I'm going to do that again this year. So guys, if you are new to my channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button. It is free. Along beside that, there is a notification bell. Go ahead and hit that notification bell and you will be notified each time that I upload a new video so you won't miss any of the happenings here on the farm. So guys, here we go. We're going to plant up some sweet potato vines in the molasses buckets here in my garden. Okay guys, so these are my 4 molasses buckets here that I'm going to be planting my sweet potato vines in so that we'll get a good sweet potato harvest this fall. I did this about 3 years ago and it did really well. However, I did need to let you know I use garden soil, mushroom compost, and peat moss just to help with the density of the soil, because you don't want the soil too dense or your potatoes will not grow to their big potential. They'll stay real small sweet potatoes, and that's it's not what I am wanting. I'm wanting the larger sweet potatoes, so I needed to amend this soil with some other things to help with the aeration and a little bit of water retention, just a little bit, because in the black buckets they'll lose a lot of the water that I've watered them with really quickly, but then they also need to retain a little bit of it when I water them. So whenever you're in a very hot place in the summertime, it's kind of a let's just try these things to see if they help with the water retention and how the plants grow with the water. Sometimes we've been having a drought in the summertime, so I'm trying to combat what will come later in the season as to what we're experiencing now. We've had rain all week last week, and for the last 3 weeks we've had a good rain shower at least once a week. We don't always get that in the summertime, so I needed to do something that was going to help with the production of my sweet potatoes. So we've got all of the amendments and everything in already. My husband came down with his big auger and he auged it a little bit to try to mix them up. It was kind of throwing dirt everywhere. So I'm going to use my potato fork and just kind of mix that up a little bit to make sure I have everything incorporated really well. So I did use the just natural organic mushroom compost, and if anyone has a Harps grocery store locally, they have this every year. This is great. I put it in my buckets when I need extra fertilization, and I also put it in my green stocks for more fertilization and to make sure that my soil stays good and fertilized so I can get big plants. But we've got my sweet potatoes here, and they're the Beauregard, and I believe that's what I planted last year. Mainly that's what's available at our local vendors here locally. Like I said, most of our garden centers have closed, so we just have to really rely on what the big box stores have. I am trying to grow some sweet potato slips and using various methods. I do have some that I would probably try to put out in another bucket out here. We'll see how that goes. They're still kind of tiny and we'll see. Another thing with gardening, you just try and learn. Try and learn. You will fail. Just know that it's okay to fail. And let's just get started on getting these sweet potatoes in the ground. And all I'm gonna do for now for the sweet potatoes in there, I'm gonna finish up the other 3 molasses buckets, and then I'm going to show you how I'm putting a trellis on so that the vines don't go all over the ground. My husband got me a retractable water hose. It is not a hose length, but it is a retractable water hose, and it is wonderful. If you don't watch it and let go, it goes back to home base pretty quickly. I don't have this 4th pot trellis up yet. I have to think of what I'm going to do, if I'm going to plant some more sweet potatoes next to it, or just leave it as one. Since I do have a couple more sweet potato slips inside, I might do one more molasses bucket, but I'm not really for sure yet. So I'm going to leave this one like this, think about it for the rest of the day, and we'll see if I want to add more sweet potatoes or just go with these 4 buckets here. Now these will be ready to harvest probably the 1st or the middle part of November. We usually still have pretty mild weather right then, but you never know. Sometimes it's crazy, but most of the time in November we'll still be fine, especially with them being in these molasses buckets. The ground won't be frozen, and it'll be easier to get them. We'll just dump them over, or get the tractor and dump them in the tractor bucket or something like that when we want to harvest them. Like I said, we had a real big rainstorm Friday night and everything was flooded. And then here it is Tuesday morning, and now everything's dry as bones. So that's how fast things dry out here. So do you see how fast that hose reeled in? It does great. So as long as it lasts, if it can last like 3 summers, I will be happy. I love it because it's not hanging out on the ground. It's not in my way. The one thing that I have been told though from a lot of people that do have retractable hoses is do not forget to leave them on, because if you do, they explode. So I'm gonna turn the water off real quick, and then come and finish up the sweet potatoes. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do today is cover up the soil with some straw. Out here in the blazing sun, we have no shade, we have a lot of wind. In the summertime, we're getting a lot more of a drought situation, so I need to cover up the soil, one, to keep it kind of cool for the roots of the plant, to keep seeds that fly by in the wind of weeds, help them not to germinate in my container buckets, and also to help conserve the water moisture in the soil. You've got to mulch with something: straw, pine bark, pine needles, mulch, something. It just needs to be covered with something in order to keep all of that stuff away. We don't want the weeds. We don't want the top of the soil to become super hot and bake our roots of our plants, and we want to conserve water. Now you can see the difference that would have if I left it just with the soil exposed. Just think about how much the water would evaporate from that soil and how hot that soil would get. So that is an extra insulation for your plants, protection from the bearing heat, and weeds that want to come by and get in my soil. Thank you so much for joining me as I planted up my sweet potatoes for 2024. Hopefully this will be a great harvest, and we will use these potatoes at Thanksgiving for all of my family. Why don't you grow some sweet potatoes with me this year and tell me in November how your harvest turned out. Thanks for joining me today, and make what you have beautiful.